Hi there, this is Doris Benter from Library Arts, and thank you for joining me today. Today we're going to be creating a beautiful mixed media watercolor picture of a seahorse. I like to call this the bead and button seahorse because we have beads and buttons, and we're going to use oil pastels and watercolors to create a wet and wet technique to create the ocean and the seahorse combined. So let's get started by going over the materials, and then I'll walk you step by step through the project. And I hope you have a wonderful time creating this. See you in a moment. Time to go over the materials in your kit. So you're going to have a sheet of watercolor paper that you're going to want to have in a vertical orientation like you see here. You're also going to have a seahorse that's already been cut out of watercolor paper, and on the back you're going to notice that I've already put double-sided foam tape. So with double-sided foam tape, if you peel off the top layer, you're going to expose the sticky side right here. So keep that intact until later. You're going to have a watercolor set. Comes with a small brush, but if you have a bigger brush, it might be helpful. But if that's all you have, you can use it too. So there's your watercolor set. You should have a cup of water and some extra brushes if you can. That would help you have a little more fun with the color spreading. I like to keep a paper towel underneath my water cup so that I can dry my brushes as I use them on the paper towel. You're also going to have a bag. Let's see what's in the bag. You're going to have some glue and a craft stick, and that's going to be for gluing down your buttons, your beads that you see here. You're going to have a crayon, a brown crayon, and you're also going to have a couple oil pastels. Now I have orange and green. You might have green and yellow. They come in different color combinations, but everybody should have a brown crayon as well. And that is really all you're going to need. Now this project does take place in steps. We're going to work on one piece, put it aside to dry. We're going to work on the other piece, put it aside to dry, then we'll put it all together. So just have a place where you can put things to dry when we're working on different parts of the project. And paper towels underneath your work because of the use of water might be a good idea. So once you've gathered all your supplies and you have your surface ready to go, in the next video, we'll start working on our seahorse first. See you in a minute. Welcome back. So as I promised, we're going to be working on your seahorse first. So you're going to need the seahorse with the double-sided foam tape on the back and your watercolor set. And you're definitely going to need a cup of water with clean water in it. We're not going to be using any color yet to start with. We're going to use clean water. Then we're going to start using the colors in your set here. So having a paper towel again underneath your work will allow any extra water to go into the paper towel instead of all over your tabletop, so I suggest that. And what we're going to do is we're really just going to take the clean water from our cup and we're going to let our seahorse shape get nice and wet. So what we're doing is called the wet into wet technique. So I'm going to come down here to the tail now. I want to get every inch of that seahorse wet, not drowning in water, but just a nice layer of water. Now on the head of the seahorse, so that it's got a way for the water to make the color move once we start adding color. Now that your seahorse is nice and wet, it's time to wake up your watercolors. So waking up your watercolors meaning adding water and just getting the color started, okay? So let's see what happens. Just putting a little color into that water. You can see how the water is allowing it to move around. I'm going to clean my brush before waking up my yellow. And by the way, I would steer clear of darker colors like brown and black for this step. And I'm going to add some more water to wake up the color on my seahorse like this, and continue adding colors as I see fit. I think orange would be really beautiful over here. Don't want to get too close to that blue though, because the blue and orange will really make a very dark color. So I'm going to put some green in here. Maybe I'll put a little red each time I'm adding more water to the color to wake it up before I apply it. You don't want to have the paint dry. This is why they call it watercolor. You want color on your paintbrush to move around with a lot of water added. So I'm making sure I add water each time I go in to add color to my design. And then what we're going to do is just keep adding color till we get what we're happy with. I'm going to put some orange up here. Again, not too close to the blue. I'm not trying to make a face or any details at this point. I just want to get the color down and get my seahorse just full of beautiful color. And just watch where you overlap, that you don't end up with a muddy looking seahorse, meaning that your colors have mixed together too much and you're not really enjoying the color anymore. It looks more like a sea monster than a seahorse. So try to keep your color under control, but definitely do what you want with the color. Have some fun. Put some more yellow over here. And if you see places where the color looks a little limp or light and you think to yourself, I could definitely make that a little richer, you can go in there, you can add some more color. And then when you're happy, when you're feeling like, okay, I got enough color on my seahorse, then you're going to stop. So this is my seahorse at this point. The head, the body, the fins, the tail, all have a good layer of color on them. I'm thinking that this is probably a good place to stop and let it dry. So while we let that dry, we're going to go back to the larger sheet of paper in the next video. So put this aside to dry on a paper towel, let that seahorse dry, and we will come back to it a little later. Go ahead and have fun with your own watercolors. See you soon. Now that your seahorse is drying on that paper towel we set aside, we're going to come back to the big paper I gave you, the larger sheet of watercolor paper. And this time we're going to be using those crayons that were in your bag. So you have a brown crayon, you have, yellow or blue or green. Well, everybody's got a green, but maybe you have a yellow, a pink, or a blue with your green. So let's start with the brown crayon, because what we want to do is we actually want to use it to create the bottom of our little ocean here. So I'm going to just color in with my crayon. See, I'm just making a little bit of a line here of color, maybe a little dome. I'm not pressing very hard. I'm just going to make a little sandy bottom to the little water I have in my picture. And I might even go in there and add a little color from my orange and even a little bit of green just to give it some depth. Okay, so that is my sandy portion of my picture. I can go a little darker if I want. I could draw a little crab in there, whatever I want. Now coming out of that little layer of sand on the bottom, we can draw some seagrass. So we're just going to maybe take our lines up, maybe make some lines here to make it look like little seagrass growing in the ocean depths here. We're not too concerned about it being very detailed, just simple little grassy type shapes. I could even put a little bit of brown in there if I wanted, and more of that orange just to give it a little depth. And then I think I might add another one in the middle here, maybe kind of going into that one, and then maybe a little bit of ocean water waves. And that's really all I'm going to do, is just very simply create the illusion of seaweed. Now maybe I'll put a little sea creature in here. Maybe I'll put a little sea jelly. And I'll just give it some little legs coming down. Maybe I'll add a little brown inside of it. So I have a little sea jelly. But primarily we're gonna wanna keep this for your seahorse. So once you have your crayon down, we're gonna go back to the watercolors now. And we're gonna use the watercolor on top of the crayon. And the crayon's going to act like a resist. It's not going to mix with your watercolors. So you're gonna start doing the same thing you did before. You're just gonna wet your paper down. Now my water has a little bit of color in it. You can clean your water, change it out for some fresh water, but mine is so pale, I'm not gonna worry about it. But we're gonna do the same treatment we did before we added color to the seahorse. Just putting a layer of clean water down, even over the crayon parts. So see here, I'm just covering the crayon, I'm gonna cover the bottom, because any little white areas, they can accept color from the watercolors as long as the paper is wet and there are little white spaces for the watercolor to seep in. So I'm just gonna spend a minute. Again, if you want, like my watercolor has just a hint of color, and you could always add more on top, but try to get a nice layer of clean water so your paper stays nice and damp when you're ready to add watercolors. And I'm going to stick with blues and greens primarily for this, but you can also add a little yellow if you like for your ocean. So now that I have that, I got my watercolor set here. I have my paper again on a sheet of paper towel. I'm going to give it a little extra water. Again, making sure I've hit all the edges, all inside, and I'm ready to add color. So let's give it that oceany feel. Let's let that color move around like water likes to do. Let's just give it some color, keep it pale. Look how pretty that is. See how the crayon is resisting the watercolor? It's not mixing. The color actually on the crayon still stays vibrant, even though pretty yellow in there too, because that creates a nice yellow green for your seahorse. And maybe a little more yellow over here. If you keep the colors here kind of simple in the range, you don't want to get too crazy with the colors, you're going to end up with more of a ocean-like theme. If you start introducing reds and purples and stuff, that might be fun, but you're going to lose the feeling of an ocean. So try to keep your colors rather simple. I'm just using 3. I'm using the green, I'm using the yellow, and I'm using the blue. And I'm just, again, going over all the areas that are wet. And you can see down here on the bottom how the watercolor is bubbling up on top of the crayon. That's normal, very typical for this kind of creation. Settling into the white areas, but sitting on top of the crayon at the same time. So let's color over there. I'm almost done here, and then we're going to be doing the same thing I did just a moment ago. We're going to be putting this aside to dry once we're pleased with it. And right now I'm kind of liking what I see with the blue, green, yellow range, looking very nice here. And I think that I'm ready to go let this sit and dry on my paper towel again. So go ahead and have fun with the background of your ocean for your seahorse, and then let it dry, and then come back when your seahorse is dry, and we will begin adding the bead and button texture to your seahorse. See you soon. Now it's time for one of my favorite parts of the project. Our tape is still intact on the back, but now we get to add some beautiful decorations to our seahorse. So you're going to need your little glue cup, and you're going to want your craft stick. Now I have separated my beads over here, my buttons right nearby, and the little gems I have that came. And I actually intentionally put some green gems in there to go with this kind of ocean theme. But all you have to do, now again, my Seahorse is nice and dry, and I'll give you a little tip. If you want your watercolor to dry a little faster, just use a hair dryer and you're going to get a nice dry watercolor paper very quick. So if you want to speed up the drying time, it's very easily done. So I'm going to just start putting glue down where I think I might like to see a bead or a button. I kind of like that one there. I think I might want to use, I was thinking whether or not I could use like one of these gems as a kind of eye. Kind of might want to do something like that or like that for my Seahorse eye. I'm going to leave it there and think about it for a minute before I decide. So I do have some pretty gems I can put down. I have some pretty buttons and beads to put down, so maybe I'll put a few of these beads down. And any glue that you put down will dry clear, so I wouldn't get too concerned with that, because that is all going to dry clear. Actually, I don't think I like that one there. I think I want to put it over here. And you know, glue is very flexible while it's wet, so you can move things around. You try one idea and you say, oh, I don't like that. You know, I could take this and make that kind of like a nostril for the horse, and maybe I'll put pretty pink bead over here, and I think I'll put a button, a little rose-colored button there. And oh, I have this big, should I put that big purple one there? That's kind of fun, isn't it? Or maybe this big pink one. I think I'll put the pink one down here actually and think about saving. I'm not sure if I'm going to use that purple one or not, but I do like the pink one here. And let's see what else. Oh, I have a blue one I might want to put here. It's a pretty blue one that kind of goes well with that purple watercolor there. And I could put one up here. You just put whatever beads and buttons strike you as being what you'd like to see. So again, you can take a bead and a button and make a little eye out of it if you want. Or you could even take, like maybe I want, instead of this little green sequin, I'm going to see how this blue would look like a little eye on my Seahorse. Maybe it's a little too plain. I think I'll take that off. Just try different things till you find what you like. Maybe that would be a better eye. Let's see. It's a little subtle. So I think maybe I'll look and see if there's anything else in my bag that I might like better. Like here's a really pretty blue one. Oh, that looks like a cool eye. I think I'm going to use that blue bead. It was still in my bag here. Hadn't put all the pieces out yet, so I think I'll put that blue bead as an eye on my Seahorse. And I will continue to add shapes. Have this really pretty clear one here. And let's see what we can put over here. A pink one. Sometimes it's fun to look for colors in your beads and buttons that match up with the colors in the Seahorse. If I move that pink one up just a little bit, I feel like I could put, I just love that polka dot on that purple, but I want to put it in. And you know, you can even come back with your crayon and maybe you want to, you know, add some lines, some details to the fin, just to, you know, make things pop out a bit more. So anyway, I want you to go ahead and add as many beads and buttons that you want to your design, and when you come back, we'll be letting this dry again so that we can turn our attention to the background that you painted earlier. Okay, have fun with your gluing. I'll see you soon. Now with this final step, we can take our seahorse with our beautiful beads and buttons and gems and attach it to our background. You might notice I added a couple fish here along with my sea jelly, put a couple extra swirls in there. But what we're gonna do is just move that aside for a minute. This is nice and dry because again, I used a blow dryer on it to speed it up. Gonna just carefully peel off the green paper without pulling off the foam tape. And this is just gonna lift it off the surface a little bit so it gives it more of a floating feel in the water. So work your way down with all the pieces I've already put on the back of your seahorses, like so. And we'll get that, oopsie, onto your little ocean background. Got one more little piece there. So all the tape is exposed here, and you might even want to just sort of hold it above your image for a minute to find out exactly how you want to place it. You can say, you know, do I want it straight? Do I want it tilty? Do I want it looking like it's near the fish, near the sea jelly? Oh, my blue bead fell off. Well, I'll get another blue bead and put it on there. Here it is. There's my little eye. I think right here looks good. So I'm just gonna give it a gentle press where that foam tape's gonna be. And there you have it. You have a beautiful seahorse floating against a colorful ocean, all made with crayons, oil pastels, and watercolors, and then of course the beautiful embellishments you put on top of your seahorse. So I hope you had fun creating this today. I hope that your summer's going well, or any time of year that you might be in right now. And in the meantime, this is Doris Benter of Library Arts. Stay well, stay creative, and I hope I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.